Attention Niners fans and watch aficionados. Elevate your game with the Breitling Chronomat San Francisco 49ers Team Edition, now at Topper Jewelers. Celebrate the NFL's 104th anniversary with a Swiss-made timepiece that blends sophistication with sporting capability. Introducing the Breitling Chronomat, crafted in honor of the San Francisco 49ers. This 42mm marvel features a striking crimson and white dial that's finished with the iconic red and gold 49ers logo placed prominently at 9 o'clock. Limited to just 104 pieces, this special watch showcases your team spirit with distinctive colors and logos. Powered by Breitling's in-house B01 chronograph movement, it combines precision with a bold design. And with a 70-hour power reserve, 200 meters of water resistance, and a sapphire crystal, it's built for both action and elegance. Catch this exclusive piece at Topper Jewelers, where tradition meets the thrill of the game. But you'll want to hustle, because once these 104 pieces are gone, they're gone forever. Discover this 49ers edition, as well as other iconic Breitling watches, like the legendary Navitimer and Mighty Super Ocean, now at Topper Jewelers. And while supplies last, mention this ad to receive a special gift with your next Breitling order.
Do you catch yourself tossing and turning all night and feeling exhausted when it's time to get up? Instead of reaching for that second cup of coffee, you should be tackling the problem at the source, your mattress. But with a Purple mattress, those problems are a thing of the past. Purple's flexible structure rebound with every movement, conforming to the curves of your body with no lag time or sinking stuck sensation like with memory foam. What places Purple a step above your average mattress? The Gel Flex Grid. Their patented material delivers a sleep experience unlike any other, all thanks to its unique column structure. Beneath the concentrated weight of pressure points like shoulders and hips, the flexible structure buckles to create cradling, made-for-you comfort. Simultaneously, beneath broad surfaces such as your back and legs, the columns maintain their integrity, providing total support and alignment. Hello, 40% less pain. And with over 114,000 five-star reviews, you know it's good. Visit Purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code podcast10 to get 10% off.
It's time. Time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
49ers Web Zone No Huddle Podcast. We are part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Al Sacco. It's a huge game for the 49ers this week. Probably safe to say not as big for their opponent, the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's a marquee matchup nonetheless. And we're going to go behind the enemy lines with the host of The Drive on 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. He is Carrington Harrison. Carrington, thanks for giving us some time, man.
Hey, absolutely, man. I'm happy to be on with you guys today.
So I got to start, Carrington. The Chiefs have lost some big pieces. No Rashee Rice. They don't have Pacheco, but they just keep winning. The defense has been great, and Mahomes, while he's statistically not having the best year of his career, he's still the great equalizer. Do you think they can sustain this, or are they going to have to go out and make a move on offense to make up for the loss of Rice and maybe bring a receiver in?
It's funny because I would say the answer to your question is probably both. I do think they're going to have to go out and make a move. There's just not a lot of healthy bodies in that room. I mean, as we're talking right now, Juju Smith-Schuster was limited in practice. You have McCole Hardman, Xavier Worthy, Sky Moore, and Justin Watson. You just don't have a lot in that room. But, I mean, the Chiefs over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, where there's a will, there's a way, and they just figure it out. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster got cut from the New England Patriots and had 100 yards receiving. Kareem Hunt was not in the NFL 3 weeks ago and ran for 100 yards last week. So if there's any team in the league that will figure it out, it's Kansas City. I think about this all the time, and you and I both follow the league. Knowing how to win and figuring out how to win is the hardest thing to do in the league. And there's one team that seems to unlock it. It doesn't matter if this game gets played in a shootout. It doesn't matter if this is a low-scoring 13-10 grinded out kind of game. The Chiefs have just shown you that more times than not, they're just going to have more points than you're going to have at the end of the game. So if that means Mahomes has to throw for 400 yards for them to win this game, or their defense is going to have to force 3 turnovers and they win it that way, I just feel confident in almost every situation that whatever adversity is placed before Kansas City, they're going to figure out a way to win.
Are you just waiting for Mahomes to kind of explode? Because I was looking at his numbers, and he has the lowest TD percentage of his career, the highest interception percentage of his career, the lowest QB rating. Just not Mahomes' numbers. He's still, like you said, he finds ways to win. But are you waiting for kind of that game where he just explodes for 350 and 4 TDs, even with the limited weapons?
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point that game happens. But this is the thing that I think we're unfair to quarterbacks in the National Football League, that We want to see guys do it without those weapons. Then when they don't have those weapons, we're like, oh, well, what went wrong? Well, how do you do great things if you don't have great players? Like if you look at the decline of Patrick Mahomes, it's aligned with the pieces around him get worse. I mean, right now the Chiefs are doing a challenge. Patrick, how few weapons can you win the Super Bowl with? Like, think about all the other good teams in the NFL. Think about Detroit. Think about Houston. Think about whatever team that you and I both think are good. All of those teams have noticeably more on offense than Kansas City does. Like, it's not even close right now. The Chiefs' number one wide receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, what are we doing here? That, it just – that's to go to your point. The Chiefs are eventually going to have to make a move. And I think it's going to be hard for Mahomes to kind of have at least consistently those breakout performances that you're alluding to, just because I don't think they have the pieces. Like this offense is just not designed for Mahomes to go crazy in.
Yeah, it seems like it's very dink and dunk and just being creative right now. But like you said, we live with that with Brock Purdy. People want to take away everything he's doing because he has good players around him. But like you said, you need good players to do well. You have to have a good supporting cast. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to me. We were talking about this on my show. And this is where, again, I just think we pick and choose with quarterbacks because – when a quarterback is on his rookie contract, we say, well, I want to see what you look like without weapons. And then when they have less weapons, it's then weird. Then we say we want to see what it's like when you pay your quarterback, but now everybody is paid their quarterback. I just feel like we're constantly trying to thread this needle of when do you get credit for your success? I think Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback, but they can't run the football. How can you be successful as an NFL quarterback if your team can't run the ball? Like, not all of the problems on the offense are just based on how you are. How's your offensive line? I would say over the course of the last 5 years, my biggest opinion has changed. Now, Mahomes is shown to be a sidebar from this, but Mahomes is one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. Man, the NFL is so situation-based. So we can say, well, I want to see what Brock Purdy looks like when he's not in Kyle Shanahan's system. I mean, is Kyle Shanahan getting fired anytime soon? Because he's going to continue to be in Kyle Shanahan's system. So why do we now need him to go to Cleveland to prove to us that he's a good quarterback?
It's ridiculous.
Being a good quarterback on San Francisco, the
nitpicking is ridiculous.
Yeah,
he plays for Kyle Shanahan. He plays in that system. So what does it matter if he can go to Cleveland and run and shoot or whatever the hell that people want to see him do?
Yeah, we're constantly moving the goalposts for these quarterbacks, and I think one thing that's really important to note is, man, none of these quarterbacks under 30 have a Super Bowl yet except Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of great young quarterbacks in this league. Lamar Jackson's fantastic. Josh Allen is fantastic. CJ Stroud. I mean, there's not that many active quarterbacks with rings aside from Patrick Mahomes. It's Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, like older quarterbacks, like at some point it is going to be interesting to see in the same way with Brady. Brady was not the only quarterback of his generation to win a championship. Peyton Manning won a championship. Ben Roethlisberger won a championship. Russell Wilson. All these other quarterbacks won rings. None of Patrick Mahomes' contemporaries have rings. Not a single one of them. That's not going to go on for the next decade. Eventually, the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl or they don't get to the Super Bowl like we saw a couple years ago and other teams get to go. So I don't know if that's going to be this year. It does feel like if you're going to – I feel like we said this last year. If you're going to get Kansas City, this does feel like the season to get them with how the injury bug has bitten them. But again, last year, the Chiefs were 17th in offense and points scored, and they still found a way to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what gets to me. It felt like it was the Niners' year last year, and it was the year to knock off the Chiefs last year, and the Ravens couldn't do it, and the Bills couldn't do it, and then the Niners couldn't do it. They still find a way to win, and it's kind of reminds me in a way of the Patriots, because a lot of the reasons the Patriots were so successful is you had Brady and Belichick, right? You had the best quarterback and the best coach, and he was a defensive coach. And when you marry those two, they're so hard to beat. And with Kansas City, Reed is probably the best coach in the league, I would say. And then you have Spagnuolo, who's probably the best defensive coordinator in the league or close to it. And then you have the best the best quarterback. So they have this like perfect storm situation where even when the offense is down, the defense can pick up the slack like they're doing right now. So it's an amazing time to be a Chiefs fan or follow the Chiefs. I can imagine. I mean, we're sick of it, but for you guys, it's got to be good. So.
Yeah, I think this is just every time of every sport that we watch. Maybe just not baseball right now because baseball feels maybe more wide open than it's been. Mm-hmm. There are teams that sort of plant their flag and let you know that we were here. That's happened in football for every football cycle that has happened. happened. In the 70s, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. In the 80s, it was you guys in San Francisco. In the 90s, it was the Cowboys. The 2000s, the Patriots. 2010s was the New England Patriots. Like, this is just the Chiefs' time. I don't know how long that time will be. Maybe it's 2 more years. Maybe it's 6 more years. Maybe it's 12 more years. I don't know. But it has clearly been noted this is the Chiefs' time in history, and you just got to wait it out. And eventually it ends, and then another team like Kansas City pops up. We would have never guessed, right when the Patriots dynasty ends, another dynasty will just take over, like almost instantly. I mean, that's not what's happened in the NBA. Golden State dynasty end, and then, hey, Denver got a ring, and now Boston
it takes
got
a little
ring.
bit.
Yeah, now we'll see if another team, we'll see if Boston can go back to back. But, the fact that the NFL has been controlled by basically 2 quarterbacks since the turn of the century is just, it's mind-blowing. I mean, either Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady have been in 8 of the last 10 Super Bowls. The NFL's selling point is parity. Its selling point is anybody can win. No, anybody cannot win. If you don't have Mahomes or you don't have Tom Brady, the history suggests you are not going to the Super Bowl.
This game coming up, I'm always worried about Kelsey, even though he's getting older and it kind of seems like he's on a pitch count these days. I'm going to worry about him. But one player I have my eye on their offense is Xavier Worthy, because I feel like they've been slow playing him a little bit. He had the really good week 1 where he had the end around touchdown and he looked like they were going to find ways to get him the ball. And it's been a little bit of a dead period for him. But now after the bye, we know how good Andy Reid is after buys. I feel like maybe they're going to incorporate him in a little bit more. Do you see him being a factor this week, or do you think as the season goes on, maybe later in the year, they'll get him more involved?
I'm not trying to sidestep the question. I think it's really hard to know with Xavier Worthy. If you look at the stats, I mean, he's basically where Rashee Rice was at this point last year, so around 150 yards. Now we know the second half of the season, Rice just really exploded in the last 8 games for this team. So I'm not really sure. It feels a little boom or bust to me with Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy could have 2 catches for 102 yards in this game. He could have 2 catches for 12 yards in this game. Like, both are very realistic possibilities. I would be surprised if Juju plays if he has 12 yards, just because of the volume I think he could get and the opportunities that I think he's going to get in the offense. But as I said with Xavier Worthy could have one big over-the-play touchdown where it's 1 catch for 80 yards and he just breaks your back in that way. Or he could get an end around and takes it to the house. It's been real boom or bust so far with his usage. I mean, in his first game, he touched the ball 3 times and scored twice. Against the Chargers, they had a long pass play down the middle of the field. He catches it. Other than that, he hasn't really made a whole lot of dynamic plays, but it's crazy to say other than when he scored, he hasn't done anything.
Right. Their defense is I mean, really amazing to me. And when you look at them statistically, they're so good. They don't give up points. They're tough against the run. We all know Chris Jones. I mean, Niners fans certainly do. He's probably cost us 2 Super Bowls in a lot of ways. But who are some other guys on this defense that have really stepped up other than Jones that for the Niners fans to keep an eye on or watch out for?
I mean, Trent McDuffie would be a household name in the NFL if he had better interception numbers. You kind of know how corner is. You kind of have to get interceptions to kind of be labeled as that guy, to kind of have that belt as being the best young corner in the league. Sauce Gardner is incredible. Patrick Surtain II is incredible. I think that Trent McDuffie is in that conversation, but again, the interception numbers aren't there. Jalen Watson has played really well. The Chiefs have done a really good job. You guys know Charvarius Ward very well. He had that title at one point. He then passed it to L'Jarius Sneed, who now passed it to Jalen Watson. So they've done a really good job with either undrafted or mid-round corners and turning them into really productive players and starting that process over. I think they have one of the best secondaries in the National Football League. And another name to keep a hold of, opposite of Chris Jones, is George Karlaftis. I think George Karlaftis has a lot of Max Crosby energy. I don't think his ceiling is as high as Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby is one of the 5 best pass rushers in the league. I don't think that's what Karlaftis is, but he's a guy that if you sleep a little bit, he could have 1.5 sacks in these games to kind of turn things around. But I mean, you mentioned it. Chris Jones is playing like the best defensive tackle in football. He's one amazing. Of the best defensive linemen in football. I mean, I think right now he is their best player. That's no disrespect to Patrick Mahomes. We're just saying how guys are playing today, not their accolades, not what they've done over the course of their career. I think that Chris Jones is playing better than anybody on their team right now. He has had some stretches where he has just been unblockable at times and been dominant. Excuse me. And everything they do defensively really stems off the fact of they do a really good job of limiting stars. I mean, look at the running backs against them. Like, I'm not really confident in San Francisco's ability to run the ball on Kansas City in this matchup because of how they've done. And they've done a really good job against number one wide receivers. I mean, they've gone up against Zay Flowers. They've gone up against Drake London. They've gone up against Jamar Chase. They've gone up against Quentin Johnston. And just none of those guys have had more than 75 yards against Kansas City.
Well, a point I'm going to make later in the show, when you look at the Super Bowl and the Niners stars, because I think that's the key to this game. Niners stars didn't do anything in the Super Bowl. I mean, Kittle had 4 yards. Debo had 33 yards. Ayuk had 49 yards, I think it was. So they didn't step up. So I think those guys really need to do that in this game. And you mentioned Chris Jones. Yeah, we know Mahomes. Chris Jones probably made the 2 plays that won those Super Bowls for the Chiefs, with the batted down pass in 2019, and then obviously the pressure that caused Purdy to throw the ball to Jennings, the incomplete pass there, and the Niners settle for a field goal for whatever reason. But yeah, he's a guy like you do not want to see. He's amazing.
Really
this is a huge game.
Really quick, I just want to add this in here. One of the Kansas City local debates is who should have won MVP in the first Super Bowl. Chris Jones is the name that gets thrown out a lot, and Damian Williams is a name. I understand why. Mahomes won it. I certainly get why Mahomes won it. Jet chip wasp, that catch in the middle of the field. They don't win the Super Bowl without Patrick Mahomes, of course. But I'm with you. Chris Jones was the best player on the field that day. Mahomes did not play well for the first 52 minutes of the game, and it just magically was incredible at the end of the game. And then Damian Williams has, the infamous call, or I guess the famous call, not infamous, the famous call from Mitch Holtis, the run to immortality. Damian Williams, long run down the sideline. So that's kind of the, hey, maybe Mahomes shouldn't have got MVP in the first one. Now, the last two, I think it's been very obvious that he should have won MVP, but that first one, that's kind of one of those debates of who should have won MVP.
So how do you guys view this game in Kansas City? Obviously, for the Niners and Niners fans, it's huge, and this is a hump that this team has to get over. It's not the Super Bowl. It's not going to make up for that, but they have to beat this team at some point to, I think, springboard them forward, and then if they do see them again in the Super Bowl. How do you guys view this? Is this a rivalry, or is it just kind of like one of those things for you where you're like, oh, it's the Niners, and we're more than
honestly, the conversation this week has been much more about who they should go get at wide receiver. I mean, we didn't start talking about the Niners until Thursday. We did not talk about the Niners the first 3 days of the week. It was a lot of Amari Cooper on Tuesday because, I wanted them to go get Amari Cooper, and he went to Buffalo.
Love that pickup for Buffalo. Love it.
Devontae Adams got traded. So it's been a lot of that. This is no shade towards San Francisco because I think they've been the second best team in the league over the last 5 years. There is not a team that Kansas City Chiefs fans think about because they're in the NFC. Let's say San Francisco wins this game. It changes nothing for Kansas City.
Right.
Kansas City has already beaten Baltimore. They have Buffalo on their schedule and Houston on their schedule. You got to win those games. If you win those games, you have the necessary tiebreakers, and you are going to be the 1 seed in the AFC postseason. So, the Chiefs are not going undefeated. They're going to lose a handful of times over the course of the year. I said this on my show today. If I handed you the schedule and I told you what the Chiefs' record was going to be, they're going to go 13-4. And I said, circle the 4 losses. I think you circle this loss. Now, I'm going to pick them to win this game, and I'll tell you why I'm going to pick them to win. But I think that this game doesn't register with Chiefs fans, because they've won the 2 Super Bowls. You guys haven't won the Super Bowls. I also think it just registers because, week 1 was against Baltimore. Week 2 was against Cincinnati, and the back and forth between Cincinnati. They got Buffalo later. They have a Black Friday game in Kansas City. They play on Christmas on Netflix against the Steelers. So this game probably isn't one of the 5 biggest games that Chiefs fans have circled, and that's not any disrespect towards San Francisco. It is just when you were the Super Bowl champions, you just have big games. It feels like once every 2-3 weeks in the league.
So why do you think the Chiefs are going to win?
I'm picking the Chiefs for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I think the Chiefs can make San Francisco one-dimensional. They've done that to basically everybody. And I think Purdy's somebody that kind of needs that run game. No McCaffrey. I don't know if Jordan Mason's going to play in this. I don't know if – I can't pronounce his last name. Isaac Gar. How do you pronounce the gentleman's last name? Yeah, Garendo. Yeah, okay. I knew it was something. I didn't want to mess it up. I didn't want to butcher his name. That guy is not running the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs. They stopped Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. Garendo is not running the ball against Kansas City.
Yeah, there's a huge drop-off after Mason.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if they can win that. Andy Reid, 21-4 coming off a bye. Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, 10-3 straight up as a dog. So if you're telling me in this, the Chiefs have had 2 weeks to prepare for San Francisco, and you're going to give me Mahomes as a dog, to me, that's the right side to be on. So I've already placed my bet on this. I have flipped the line. I'm taking the Chiefs -2.5 and the under. This just doesn't feel like a high-scoring game to me. The over-under right now is 47.5. This feels like 23-20 to me. This feels like 21-17. Number one, I don't trust Kansas City's offense enough to score 27 points with the pieces that they have. I also don't think that San Francisco scores 24 or more points with Kansas City's defense and how banged up they are right now. So that's how I did it. I got it like 3-1 odds. I got Kansas City -2.5, and I have the under 47.5.
Carrington, appreciate the time, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me on. Thank you.
Do you catch yourself tossing and turning all night and feeling exhausted when it's time to get up? Instead of reaching for that second cup of coffee, you should be tackling the problem at the source, your mattress. But with a Purple mattress, those problems are a thing of the past. Purple's flexible structure rebound with every movement, conforming to the curves of your body with no lag time or sinking stuck sensation like with memory foam. What places Purple a step above your average mattress? The Gel Flex Grid. Their patented material delivers a sleep experience unlike any other, all thanks to its unique calm structure. Beneath the concentrated weight of pressure points like shoulders and hips, the flexible structure buckles to create cradling, made-for-you comfort. Simultaneously, beneath broad surfaces such as your back and legs, the columns maintain their integrity, providing total support and alignment. Hello, 40% less pain. And with over 114,000 five-star reviews, you know it's good. Visit Purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code PODCAST10 to get 10% off.
At Alma, we know the connection between you and your therapist matters. But if you're already feeling stressed and burnt out, the idea of trying to find a therapist you really connect with can be overwhelming. That's why Alma's focused on helping you find the right therapist for you. When you browse their online directory, you can filter your search based on the qualities that are most important to you. Then you can book a free 15-minute consultation call with any therapist you're interested in seeing, so you can get a feel for whether they're the right fit before you commit to a full-length session. Alma also makes it easy for mental health care providers to navigate insurance. That's why 95% of therapists in their directory accept insurance for sessions, so you can find care that's affordable without stressing about the paperwork. You want to talk to someone, but not just anyone. Alma is there to help you find the right fit. Visit helloalma.com/therapy60 to schedule a free consultation today. That's helloalma.com/therapy60.
As a parent, you always want to set your child up for success. So when they're struggling in school or they need help with homework, you try your best to step up. But sometimes you might not be equipped to answer. And it's better to leave that to the experts from IXL Learning. IXL Learning is an online learning program for kids. It covers math, language arts, science, and social studies. IXL can help your child really understand and master topics in a fun way with positive feedback. Powered by advanced algorithms, IXL gives the right help to each kid, no matter the age or personality. And when you sign up, one subscription gets you everything you need for all the kids in your home, from pre-K to 12th grade. IXL is used in 95 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S., with 1 in 4 students across the country using the program. So don't wait any longer. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXLlearning.com/audio. Visit IXLlearning.com/audio to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
All right, Brian. It's Chiefs week. You know, I think I'm getting sick.
Is.
I got a flu shot on Monday, and I kind of feel like I'm getting sick, but I also feel like I want to drink tequila. Because there's a bottle of tequila that's kind of staring at me right now. So I don't know what I want. What would you do if you were me? Would you know that you're getting sick and not drink tequila? Or would you not give a shit that you're getting sick and drink the tequila anyway?
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to let me getting sick keep me from doing anything I want to do. So
yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. I think I'm just going to start drinking that tequila when we're done with this.
There you go.
That's what I'm going to do.
Also, right. Am I correct? Your Yankees are currently trailing.
Trailing. Yeah, I thought you were going to say winning. Yeah, they're down 2-1 right now, but 2-0 in the series. I still feel good.
Right. Oh,
I mean, this Guardians team, I said it last show. I don't know who the hell anybody is on that team. It got to be the most boring team I've ever seen get this far in any sport ever. Just terrible, man. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they have it wrapped up by tomorrow night. Because it'll be game 4. They can just sweep them and get done with it, but we'll see. All right, I have a question for you.
I would say you don't want it to go too early though. Talk to the 2012 Detroit Tigers about what it was like to sweep the ALCS and then wait for an NLCS that went 7.
And you sit around.
Yeah.
It's not good in baseball.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. So
maybe they lose tonight, win tomorrow, and then just close it out in 5 games. Just do it that way.
There you go. There you go.
All right. So anyway, I have a question for you. Well, not even a question. I want you to finish this sentence for me. Okay. Because I was thinking about it today, and I know what I would finish the sentence with, but I didn't ask you this off camera or anything. I just asked you now. I want to know what you would finish the sentence with. Okay. The 49ers beat the Chiefs if
the 49ers beat the Chiefs if Steve Spagnuolo gets lost going to the stadium. No, is
Mahomes in his car with him? Are they all just take a wrong turn? And
what's crazy is I saw this stat from Josh Dubow of the Associated Press yesterday. The Chiefs have gone 7 straight regular season games losing the turnover margin. And they are 7-0 in those games.
That's unheard of.
And that's wild to me. And I quote tweeted that and I said, this right here is what having the best quarterback in the world allows you to do, right? They have such a bigger margin for error than most teams do. And there were
defense.
And so as to say, and here's so I had a couple of replies that were like, yeah, but that's also what Steve Spagnuolo's defense allows you to do. And I said, I get that, but think about the 49ers teams under Jimmy Garoppolo. Think about how good those defenses were. They were performing at about the same level as this Chiefs defense was. And I don't know the answer to this, but I would venture to say that during Jimmy Garoppolo's tenure, even with that kick-ass defense, if the 49ers lost the turnover battle, I think they lost most of the games that they lost the turnover battle because Jimmy Garoppolo just wasn't a quarterback that could elevate in the last 4 minutes of the game, right, and will his team to victory like Patrick Mahomes can. And so, I do think that these teams are really evenly matched. This Chiefs defense is really good. Steve Spagnuolo came out today and was like, I keep watching more and more film on Brock Purdy, and I can't find a weakness in his game. Now, granted, Steve Spagnuolo's been around the block. Obviously, you're going to blow smoke up the opposing quarterback's ass because that's just what you do, right? But one thing that I do think is interesting is the Chiefs came out in the Super Bowl very zone heavy in the first half, and Brock Purdy just absolutely ripped them apart. And then they switched to more man-to-man, and then the 49ers had problems. Well, one of the reasons why the Chiefs were really good at man-to-man is because they had L'Jarius Sneed, who was just an absolute lights-out man-to-man defender. They don't have him anymore. This defense is still playing really well. In fact, they lead the league in completion percentage on throws 10-plus yards down the field. Teams have only completed 33%, I believe it is, against the Chiefs on throws 10-plus yards down the field. And then you've got the 49ers who lead the league in throws 10-plus yards down the field, and Brock Purdy who leads the league in those throws. So, again, it's really kind of a match of strengths, right? You've got the Brock Purdy passing offense against this Chiefs passing defense. I would say to have an actual answer to your question of the 49ers beat the Chiefs if, and I brought this up, if they win the turnover battle and if Chris Jones doesn't have more than 1 sack. Because to me, it's Chris Jones that I'm most afraid of blowing up this 49ers offense, going against an offensive line that, Ben Baldwin put out a tweet earlier this week with his pass blocking rankings, true pass block win rate rankings. And the 49ers were 13th, which is good. Obviously in a team of 32 in a league of 32 teams, if you're in the top 15, you're doing pretty good. Now, granted, that score is buoyed pretty largely by Trent Williams, but it's also buoyed by better guard play. Dominic Pooney, we said it last episode, Dominic Pooney is the 9th ranked guard on PFF, and Aaron Banks has been the 18th ranked guard. So they've had good play at the guard position, but still right tackle and center are the biggest concerns. And with Jake Brendel has gotten better, as the season has progressed, but that doesn't mean that he's still playing well. In fact, as a pass blocker, he's just abysmal. And that's what scares me the most is that, they're going to get Chris Jones on Jake Brendel. I think the matchup I'm most excited is I hope that we get to see multiple reps of Dominic Pooney against Chris Jones. Like, I'm really intrigued by that. I would love to see how the rookie holds up against him. I don't anticipate Dominic Pooney like winning those, but I do want to see just kind of what it looks like. But yeah, I think if they win the turnover battle and then Chris Jones doesn't have more than one sack, I think they can win this game.
This Chiefs defense has given up 85 points in 5 games. It's third best, although they have had to bye. They've only played 5 games.
Yeah.
They've given up 20 points, 25 points, 17, 10, and 13. As far as that pass rush you were talking about, they have the second best hurry percentage in the NFL, 13.2%. 28 QB knockdowns, that's second, and the best pressure percentage at 32.6%. That's all according to Pro Football Reference. But only 9 sacks this year. So all that pressure, and they're not necessarily getting home for whatever reason.
Al, do you know who leads the NFL in touchdowns thrown when pressured since 2022?
Purdy.
It is Brock Purdy.
It is Brock Purdy. I'm not surprised. Another stat, he's doing phenomenal, and I'm not surprised by that. 3.7 yards per carry is the 4th best. 88 rushing yards per game is the 5th best. They've only given up 2 rushing touchdowns and only 9 total touchdowns, the second least in the league. So they are a really, really good defense. Yeah. So it's, for me, when I was thinking about that sentence today, the 49ers beat the Chiefs if. I think they beat them if their stars show up. And here's what I mean by that. Looking back at the Super Bowl, looking at the Niners stars, McCaffrey's not here. So whatever. He had 8 catches for 80 yards. He paced the receiving attack, the air attack in the Super Bowl. He's not here. So what can these other stars do? In the Super Bowl, Brian, Deebo Samuel had 11 targets. He caught 3 passes for 33 yards.
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk had 6 targets. He caught 3 passes for 49 yards. And George Kittle had 3 targets, 2 passes for 4 yards. If those 3 guys combined for 68 yards receiving again, the Niners are not going to win this game. The Niners are a star-studded team. They're a top-heavy team. They need these star players to show up in what's really a huge game for them in terms of just, can we get over the hump here? Like we talked about, it can probably really get their momentum going, but they need their stars to show up. Talking about Brandon Ayuk. So he caught a touchdown pass weeks 10 through 13 of last season. He had a touchdown catch in every single game. Since then, including the playoffs, it's been 14 games and he has just 2 touchdown catches. In his last 10 games, he's been held to 49 yards less of receiving in 8 of those 10 games. The other game was, I believe it was against Detroit. He had like 68 yards in the playoffs. And 2 weeks ago,
largely on that
140
throw.
yard game.
Yeah.
Largely on that one kind of flukish throw off the guy's helmet. So he has not been a $30 million receiver in some time now. Is he due to break out? I think so. I think he is. We'll see if the Niners are going to feature him here, but this defense is going to be tough, man. If the Niners win this game, it's probably going to have to be in the low 20s, I would think, because the Chiefs offense isn't playing well either. We know Mahomes is Mahomes, but I'm going to throw some numbers out at you. This was amazing to me. Mahomes, as of right now, a lot of season left, and he's the best quarterback in the league. His TD percentage is at a career low of 3.8, while his interception percentage is at a career high of 3.8, same percentage. Lowest yards per game of his career, 247. The lowest rating of his career at 88.9. QBR is 57.8. That's the lowest of his career. Probably a product of what's around him right now with the injuries to Rice and Pacheco and things like that. But he didn't have a lot around him last year, and he still had a pretty good season. So we think Mahomes is going to turn that around, but the Chiefs offense hasn't been terrific. They don't have their 2 stars in Rice and Pacheco. This game to me is going to be a game where the Niners got to keep it 23-20. It's going to be close. And eventually they have to get over this hump, and they need big plays from those big time guys.
Well, and like I said, they've gone 7 straight regular season games, losing the turnover battle. Just this season, they had 1 turnover in week 1, 3 in week 2, 1 in week 3, 2 in week 4, and 1 in week 5. And their defense has generated 4 turnovers in that time, 1 each game, except for the game against the Chargers. They did not have a turnover. And then again, that Chiefs offense we talked about, it's just not what we've come to expect from the Chiefs offense. They've scored 27, 26, 22, 17, and 26. Now, the defenses that they've played against so far, the best defense they've played against is the Saints. They put up 26. Mahomes threw for 321 yards. They had 139 yards on the ground. It was their best offensive performance. But the defense, it's interesting. You talked about the rushing yards allowed against Baltimore in week 1. Now, granted, Baltimore is a different animal. They've got Derrick Henry, but they've also got Lamar Jackson, right? So they're always a team that's going to put up a lot of rushing yards. But they gave up 185 yards to the Ravens. And then since then, it's 74 to the Bengals, 82 to the Falcons, 55 to the Chargers, and 46 to the Saints. So their rush defense has been outstanding, but they haven't played very many teams that are good at running the ball right now, at least not the way that the 49ers are good at running the ball. And that is, to me, that will be another key to the game, is that the 49ers have to get their running game going against the Chiefs. They've got to give the Chiefs something else to think about, and not just sit back in man-to-man coverage and really stymie this 49ers offense. They've got to get that defense on their toes. They've got to, they've got to establish the run. I certainly hope Jordan Mason will be available, because as fun as that Garendo run was against the Seahawks, again, he's not going to replicate what you've been getting from Jordan Mason. And
huge. It's a huge shot.
Patrick Taylor Jr. also is not going to do that. So
no, they're your fourth and your fifth string running backs. I mean,
right.
It is what it is at that point.
So, that is another, I think that is another, to finish that sentence, the 49ers, I would say the 49ers win this game if they run the ball 30 times. If they run the ball 30 times, I think they're controlling this game and I think they can win. But if they're under 20 carries because, whatever reason, I don't know, I think it's gonna be difficult for them to win.
One other stat I wanted to throw out there, I saw this on Twitter. Brock Purdy's averaged twice as many air yards per attempt, 10.0, than Patrick Mahomes has this season. Mahomes is at 5.0. Purdy's averaged 9.1 air yards per completion compared to Mahomes' 3.6. And Purdy has the lowest percentage of pass yards from Yak, 32.8, and Mahomes has the highest, 66.7.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whenever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout experience as business powerhouses like Aloe, Allbirds, and Skims. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast. Have you ever wanted to learn another language? Maybe it's something you've always wanted to do. Or maybe you're planning a trip abroad, but trying to memorize endless vocabulary words never works. That's where Rosetta Stone comes in. For over 30 years, they've been the trusted experts in language learning, helping millions of people get the chance to learn different languages. Rosetta Stone immerses you in the language from day one. No English translation, so you truly learn to think, speak, and listen in that new language. And they keep the process simple. Whether you're on your desktop or learning on the go with their mobile app, it's all about flexibility. So don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. Listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/rs10. That's half off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/rs10 today.
What scares me and where I'm worried defensively for the Niners, when Dre Greenlaw went out of the game, you know what I'm going to say, right?
They spam the middle of the field.
Yeah.
They spam the middle of the field.
Devondre Campbell this season, this is from Kevin Kruger, missed tackles fifth worst for all qualifying linebackers. Missed tackle percentage 19%, fourth worst for all qualifying linebackers. He's given up 249 reception yards this season already, sixth worst, and a reception percentage of 89.3%. That's 10th worst. So that's where they attack them in the Super Bowl. The weakness is still there. That's still a weakness for the Niners defense. So I wonder the same thing. I'm really curious. I'm waiting for Xavier Worthy. I know he's a rookie, and I know it takes time. And even Rashee Rice last year, it was towards the end of the season when he really started to be more of the focal point of the offense. When I watched him in week 1, they were giving him sweeps and finding ways to get him the ball. Haven't really done that much since then. And now with no Rice and Pacheco still, they had to buy. It's a couple weeks to kind of work things in. I do wonder if Worthy's going to be more of a focal point where they're going to find ways to get the ball in his hands. Because Juju had a big game last time. Juju, he did, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. He has not played, he hasn't been an impact player in a while. So is he going to have 2 games in a row like that? I don't think so. Kelsey's Kelsey, but he's getting older and he hasn't been himself. It seems like they've tried to keep him on a pitch count. They can't do that now.
Still leads the team in targets, though.
Rice does?
Kelsey does.
Kelsey does? Really? Over Rashee Rice?
In the team in targets, yeah. Rashee Rice had
I feel
29.
like Rice got like 15 a game.
So Rashee Rice, before his injury, Rashee Rice had 29 targets and he had 24 receptions on those targets. Travis Kelce has 24 receptions on 31 targets. And then Xavier Worthy, 12 receptions on 21 targets.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we'll see what they're going to do. And Kareem Hunt, again, he had a good game a couple weeks ago. Is that really sustainable? We'll see on that. But the great equalizer is Mahomes, despite what his stats are. And Andy Reid, 21-3 from a bye.
Off a bye. Yep.
He's going to be creative. And Spagnuolo owns Shanahan. So this is a tough game to go in if you're the Niners, who are favored by 1.5, at least the last I saw.
It's weird to me.
It is weird. It's like Vegas wants you to take them, which also doesn't make me feel great.
Well, I mean, but also to be the home team and only be favored by 1.5 means that technically Vegas has and Vegas does think that the Chiefs are going to win, right? Because you get 3 points just for being the home team. So at plus 1.5, that just means that, again, if the Chiefs were at home, I think it'd be +4. They'd be -4.5 based on
probably
again,
right.
just the.
Right.
So the Chiefs are, the 49ers are favored, but in reality, they are the home team. And to be favored by less than 3 means that Vegas pretty
doesn't feel too good.
Pretty confident that the other team is going to win.
I wouldn't put that money on the Niners.
I would not either. But here's the thing about this game. Niners Nation put out a tweet yesterday that said, do the 49ers have something to prove with this game? And I quote tweeted that and I said, the 49ers have something to prove to themselves in this game. That's the those are the only people that they have something to prove. They have to prove to themselves that they can beat this team. Because again, if you lose to this team for the 5th time in a row, I just don't know how you go into a potential Super Bowl matchup against this team with any confidence whatsoever that, that you can get this monkey off your back in the biggest game on the biggest stage. Right. That's a tall task, but I also think that this game, I don't think it's let me slow down. It's not going to be like the Eagles game from last year where they just went in to Philadelphia and absolutely curb stomped the Eagles and really ended their season. If we're being perfectly honest, it ended the Eagles season. Just the absolute,
Eagles haven't looked right since. They haven't looked good since.
But I think that victory over the Eagles in the resounding way that they achieved it, really kind of catapulted this team through the rest of the season and into the Super Bowl. I think a victory over the Chiefs could do something similar. Like I said, I don't anticipate it being any level of a blowout or anything like that. This Chiefs defense is too good for that. But a victory over the Chiefs could be really kind of the springboard to get this team to believe more in themselves and then to really make a second half run, with the Cowboys next week and then the bye. one thing that I think is interesting, you brought it up already. Devondre Campbell is the player that scares me the most in this game, in terms of the Chiefs picking on him, incessantly. I don't anticipate Campbell being in more than 1 or 2 series before Sorensen's probably like, we got to get Winters in there or somebody. We're going to get somebody in there. But one move that happened today that I think could be intriguing for the 49ers on multiple levels. The Titans released Jamal Adams. Now, I've made fun of Jamal Adams a lot as a Seahawk, and specifically, playing safety and getting exposed as a safety. I genuinely think it could be interesting if the 49ers had a little bit of creativity and said, hey, Jamal, do you want to come in and play weak side linebacker for us? I think that could be an interesting move that could really, again, kind of bridge the gap between now and when Dre Greenlaw comes back, because I think as a linebacker, his coverage skills would be fine. It's just as a safety, he gets beat too much. But now that doesn't help for the Chiefs game. But I just saw it today and I was like, that could be interesting.
Because it depends on when you're even Greenlaw back.
Or even as a safety, because again, you're very thin at the safety position. They just signed Adrian Amos off the street. At least Adams has been on a team and in a camp and, hasn't gone on the field a ton, but he's healthy.
That frustrates me because these are things we were saying months ago, and a lot of people like, well, we were the only ones. But listen, you sure about linebacker? You sure you got enough at safety? Justin Simmons is out there. And to still be here in week 7. It's a big game against the Chiefs, and we have the same concerns, and they're going to get picked on here and everything else. So that's a little bit frustrating. I don't know, man. I wish I felt better about this. I agree with you in the sense that if they win this game, it's a springboard.
Yeah.
I don't know, because right now we're talking about, well, if they play them in the Super Bowl, I don't think the Niners are sniffing the Super Bowl right now, the way things have looked. I think they'll be in the playoffs, but I don't know that they're going to make the Super Bowl unless they can really change things around. And this game can do that. A win here can really springboard you if you win here. And then I don't think there will be a letdown against Dallas. You think you go into the bye at 5-3. Dallas is a lot of problems right now. You'd go into the bye at 5-3, and even though the schedule is tough after the bye, the Niners can beat anybody on their best day. But I don't think it's going to go that way. It's not going to be a blowout.
No,
I don't see it being one of those games where you're like, oh shit, this is like 30-17. They're not really in it. It'll be close. It'll be a little back and forth. But at the end of the day, I see maybe 27-23 in that range, low 20s, mid 20s. I think they're both around there, but I got to say the Chiefs until the Niners prove otherwise to me. I have to pick the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think this game is going to be very similar to the Super Bowl, right? That we saw just in February, but also very similar to the last time the Chiefs played the 49ers in the regular season. It was Christian McCaffrey's first game with the 49ers. He had been there for it was like 3 days, whatever the case may be. And it was a genuine battle until Jimmy Garoppolo to the game and threw that interception in the end zone to end the first half. And then it was just all downhill from there. Brock Purdy doesn't do things like that. Brock Purdy takes care of the ball. Brock Purdy doesn't piss down his leg when things break down. Honestly, like another thing that I could see in this game is 50 to 65 yards from Brock Purdy on the ground. Like I could see that as a way that the 49ers catch the Chiefs off guard. Again, I'm not saying like designed runs or things like that, but just again, Brock Purdy keeping plays alive with his legs, finding some open space, getting a first down, whatever the case may be. I think if Brock Purdy has 50 to 65 yards on the ground, I think that's a good thing for the 49ers. Like I said, I think that is a way that they can mitigate some of the pressure that the Chiefs do get, and will also kind of put the Chiefs on their heels a little bit. Like you said, I can't predict a victory for the 49ers because they haven't beaten the Chiefs the last, is it 5 times or 4 times?
It's 5 times in a row.
Yeah. Last 5 times they played them. But I also do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. You said 27-24 Chiefs. I'm going to go 24-20 Chiefs. But I will not be shocked if the 49ers win this game. I think they are capable of winning this game. And I think they have a vested interest in winning this game. I don't know that the Chiefs have the same interest, but again, they're coming off a bye. We know what Andy Reid's record is. But the 49ers are coming off a mini bye as well, right? They haven't, they got that extra 3 days from playing on Thursday. So, and again, hopefully Jordan Mason plays. I don't think Ricky Pearsall will be activated, but
I'd be shocked.
But Matt Mayoko has tweeted that Pearsall has been vocal about wanting to play, and we've talked about Pearsall being on this team specifically because of what happened to this 49ers team against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and so it'll be interesting to see if he does get activated. I doubt it, but that could be a cool little wrinkle for this team. And also just kind of a little extra juice for this team, right? Like, hey, our teammate is back. He recovered from a literally getting shot in the chest.
Got shot.
And he's back on the field. That can be a really emotional kind of emotion lifter, if you will. So, like I said, I think it's going to be a close game, very similar to the Super Bowl. I do think that the 49ers probably end up on the losing end again. But I genuinely hope to come on Monday and be like, hey, in my eye, and I'm willing to wear it. I'm willing to wear it.
Be a good problem to have. All right, everybody. Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
Later.
9 3. 1 2 3.
.2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
What's better than watching your team win? Winning money while you do it. I'm Jim Costa, and on Cash the Ticket, Mike Valenti and I give you the edge to make every game playable. College football, NFL, we're breaking it all down game by game. Your podcast feed is going to be filled, and you're going to love it. You can click on the games you care about. We do it all. With our analysis, we're finding games that other people aren't talking about. We're turning every Saturday and every Sunday into days where you got a chance to win. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Cash the Ticket with us. Follow Cash the Ticket in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.